means Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says
taking charge of Tiffany Henyard during his turbulent reign, which seems to be marked by constant self-promotion, erratic decision-making, and a nearly theatrical style of leadership, the self-proclaimed super-mayor has come under intense scrutiny as the city of Dalton descends further into chaos due to growing scandals, allegations of financial mismanagement, and ongoing political infighting that has turned township meetings into reality TV drama, has left trustees, community members, and political observers feeling more and more worn out and disillusioned. Henyard, the mayor of Dalton and the supervisor of FBN Township, has become a divisive figure whose management style has created a dysfunctional and divided environment. Her administration's detractors claim that it is almost obsessive about maintaining a public persona over addressing urgent issues in the community, which is one of the most obvious issues: an unstructured system that has impeded effective governance, growing budgetary deficits, and ongoing claims of misusing public monies for private benefit are the city's problems. As proof of her self-serving nature, her critics refer to her lavish spending, which includes claims of exorbitant cost for upscale, eating, luxurious accommodation, and even cosmetic operations that were allegedly paid for by taxpayers. Behavior tendencies for behavior assertions of when combined with criticism of Dunn's dire financial circumstances and low median income relative to the national average. Financial mismanagement has heightened public outrage. Nevertheless, despite these scandals, Henyard has refused to resign or change her approach, instead projecting an image of herself as a fearless leader who is standing firm against powerful political opponents who are determined to destroy her administration. As a result, NAR has gained traction among her dwindling fan base. Many believe her approach is funny because it focuses more on the dysfunction that defines Henyard, which is symbolized by the reckless defiance, further alienating the very community that she claims to represent. For her critics, however, she is seen as a strong and defiant individual fighting against the established political forces that are allegedly planning to unseat her in township meetings. Champion tensions have reached to unheard of heights with regard to trust. She publicly clashes with Henyard in increasingly hostile exchanges, and her enemies claim that she acts like a belligerent reality TV star and is more concerned with generating spectacle than finding solutions, which frequently turns into yelling matches. She has been accused of being patronizing and violent towards both trustees and others, and her Golden M, a representation of her love of theatricality, has not been held back in there. The environment that has developed from criticism of her behavior, with some even comparing her leadership style to that of a bully, has made open communication and cooperative governance more difficult. Henyard's leadership has been the subject of serious ethical and legal concerns, including allegations of her contentious use of public resources. As the study claims, she has spent townships on dubious costs and official assets, such as township vehicles, for politically or personally driven purposes. Most notably, it has been claimed that she has utilized township vehicles to drive supporters to events, a tactic that backfired when inadequate management left. This move highlights Henyard's personal financial difficulties and reflects the more general accusations of financial irresponsibility and poor management that have plagued her administration. She announced her plan to run for re-election as in order to mobilize her supporters against what he believes to be a deliberate attempt to weaken her leadership. The mayor of Dune is intensifying her efforts to fortify her position. The campaign heavily emphasizes themes of fortitude and tenacity in the face of growing controversies. Hannah has not given up on her quest for political power and is unaffected. Tiffany Henyard, the problematic mayor of Dalton and the supervisor of Thorin Township, is currently involved in one of the most well-known scandals going on. Contrary to the accusations that Henyard herself is afraid of being evicted from her home, her widely reported staving rink project, which cost millions of dollars, has been criticized as a vanity project that was more about using her public persona to address urgent community needs, while refusing claims that she misused government credit cards to make extravagant purchases of luxury furniture, costly travel, and other questionable purchases. During her time as a public leader, she has hosted extravagant and poorly attended events that are funded by taxpayer dollars. In one particularly notable case, a trustee rushed out in despair, accusing Henyard of dragging Dalton towards financial disaster after an investigation revealed that she spent $440,000 in a single day on an online Shopping spree events have devolved into chaos. She has failed to bring the board and trustees together, and these meetings consistently demonstrate her open disapproval of her leadership style. Many have criticized Henyard's bold idea to reimburse residents for their property taxes as a careless and unrealistic vote-buying tactic that doesn't accomplish anything to alleviate the township's greater financial problems, particularly since, according to reports, the township's general fund has decreased from over $1 million to a fiscal deficit during the past 10 years. At recent town meetings, allegations of embezzlement and corruption have been investigated by federal authorities due to the extreme mismanagement. When she said this, the inhabitants looked away from her, revealing the underlying dissatisfaction of the public with reports of lavish parties, and an over-reliance on public assistance has further damaged the residents' faith in her leadership, which is further undermined by the pension of Pinards for questionable SP ending and alleged financial misuse, pay for personal security. Though Henyard has bold plans to correct the record, like starting a podcast, her increasingly erratic behavior and failure to address substantive issues have only served to widen the gap between her and the community. She has also been compared to others who have tried to deprive her of power by presenting her struggles as part of a larger conspiracy against her and making vague accusations against unnamed people. Other controversial historical personalities. Residents have become disillusioned with what many believe to be a history of broken promises, including extravagant development projects and community events that Henyard has undertaken while in office, but hasn't done much to rebuild public trust. Her public appearances regularly demonstrate her detachment from the realities facing Dalton's home, with critics asserting that she is more focused on protecting herself than addressing the growing crisis under her leadership. Supervision accusations of embezzlement and corruption have further complicated Henyard's already problematic leadership, and the ongoing federal investigation has painted a troubling picture of an administration that seems to be entangled in self-interest. The financial collapse of Thorne and Township under her leadership has only served to exacerbate these accusations, as both trustees and residents question how funds intended for public services have been wasted. Once the community hub, the skating rink, has currently represents financial carelessness and misplaced priorities in spite of the scandals, as Dalton grapples with the F out from her contentious 10.
But it's just important that Henny not being done. So
Command. He went into the room expecting a typical Thornton Township Municipal Supervisor meeting that usually consists of updates on community projects, conversations about local issues, and the usual back and forth of bureaucracy. Instead, he was met with what can only be described as an Olivia action disaster remnant of the main focus of the pandemonium in a reality program. The meeting, which many had expected to proceed with some decorum, devolved into an unmanageable mess that left trustees visibly frustrated and onlookers perplexed. This meeting reflected the growing scandals and legal issues that have characterized the legal battles involving Henyard leadership over the past few years. The atmosphere was surreal, with tempers running high, and Tiffany Henyard, the troubled township supervisor, was reprimanded for promoting a dysfunctional and careless atmosphere by pushing decisions through without following the necessary procedures, despite criticism from both trustees and residents. She remained unfazed and showed a stubborn determination to hold on to her authority. Her unilateral decisions, which were frequently made without consensus, have only served to stoke the fire of allegations of misusing public funds and unpaid rent that loomed in the background. Charges of autocracy, such as how public annoyance led to behavior and how the audience's emotions fluctuated between indignation and helplessness as the spectacle played out. Her reputation appeared to be in ruins following the affair, and her detractors have painted her leadership negatively by pointing to what they describe as a pattern of financial irresponsibility in which township resources are depleted to continue extravagant but unrealistic projects that worsen an already precarious. As the conference went on, members' outrage turned to dread as they realized that Henyard's plan to return property taxes was financially unsustainable and could increase the township's debt. Many question how Dalton Township, which had previously represented residents, expressed dissatisfaction with Henyard's inability to provide clear explanations or solutions to urgent issues, and the tone of the town had changed from fury to incredulity. Henyard presents her plan to return property taxes as a gesture of assertions of cronyism and government-bolstered criticism of FAT's capable leadership style and her apparent preference for private gain over public welfare, which alarmed community leaders. One trustee publicly criticized her approach, pointing out that the meeting's reckless and autocratic tone exposed deeper structural issues that have plagued car leadership for years, from the dubious public spending on credit cards to her controversial refusal to pay rent. Following her around the room, there was a growing sense of distrust between Henyard and the community, with many residents openly questioning how someone with such a controversial past could still hold such a large amount of power. Calls for accountability reverberated throughout the chamber, with several participants demanding a prompt change in leadership. One particularly well-known instance of financial mismanagement involved tens of thousands of dollars spent on upscale items and events, money that the tractor claims should have been used for urgent community needs. The director has consistently refused to accept responsibility for her mistakes or make significant changes. Detractors of Henyard claimed that her leadership demonstrates shortcomings in more than just governance, such as openness and truthfulness in public. As the meeting began, tensions were already evident as the trustees' disagreements were evident, setting the stage for yet another heated argument under Supervisor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. She unsuccessfully attempted to avoid criticism by dismissing her detractors as politically motivated and portraying herself as the target of targeted persecution. In addition to dismissing the trustee, Arrow's actions were like a threatening cloud, steadily undermining confidence in her leadership and causing a sense of growing dissatisfaction to permeate the TS of this particular meeting. This set the tone for the entire meeting, demonstrating that cooperation and compromise were inappropriate. The meeting was only intended to serve as a platform for Henyard's authoritarian management style rather than to address the urgent issues facing the township. Her actions support the long-held belief among many detractors that Henyard prioritizes maintaining her authority and silencing opposition over. When Carl attempted to participate in the decision-making process that was presented to those present, she was successfully excluded. The event wasn't just about one trustee being left out, it was a microcosm of a larger problem. Har's leadership has been plagued by criticism for years because of her behavior, which demonstrated a lack of willingness to consider different viewpoints or interact with people in a sincere manner. Meaningful conversation and constructive criticism were virtually eradicated as the meeting turned into a showcase of Har's domineering attitude. While some in attendance watched in dismay at her hot temper and others accepted yet another instance of dysfunction, the strategy was clear and the trustees were clearly irritated. They exchanged heated words that exposed the deep rift inside the board. This moment perfectly captured the unpredictable nature of the Henyard's administration, with some acknowledging that it was just another instance of Henyard putting her ego and personal agenda ahead of the township's interests. This pattern has been observed over time, and Henyard has come under increasing criticism for managing her government with the. During this meeting, trustees publicly expressed their frustration with her refusal to cooperate, while residents on the sidelines expressed their displeasure, stating that her leadership is not only divisive but ineffective. As a result, the large consequences of Har's actions were evident, but the actual effects of her decision on the community, from her pettiness and disdain for opposing viewpoints, have further pushed her administration into the discord, alienating not only critics but also former supporters who once supported her leadership. Many people questioned her ability to lead the township towards stability and progress due to accusations of financial misconduct and governance flaws. Additionally, her propensity to ignore criticism and assert her authority has only made the administration's problems worse. Observers pointed out that instead of addressing the community's urgent issues like infrastructure needs and economic concerns, every incident like this one erodes public confidence, making the township even more unstable. The gathering served as a metaphor for the larger failings of the Henyard. The township has significant issues that call for unified and progressive leadership, which Henyard has not yet provided. Instead, her tactics have fueled an unstable cycle that has alienated those around her and hurt the meeting, which ended with the sense of exhaustion and a decline in public trust in local government. The trustees, residents, and even the general public are questioning whether the township could survive under Henyard's leadership, which has been marked by scandalous allegations of embezzlement of public funds and a seeming disregard for moral leadership. Henyard is in charge, so it shouldn't have been a big deal because it was supposed to be a tax break worth more than $2 million for Dopin residents when trustee Chris Gonzalez leaves there. However, the meeting quickly spiraled